I rise in opposition to SB 1EX because it does not comply with Judge Jones' federal court order. It fails to comply with the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and it continues the Republican Party's discrimination against Black voters in Georgia. Again, I'd like to reiterate some of the points that were previously made by my colleagues and rebut, and perhaps hopefully answer some of the questions asked by my Republican colleagues. Less than 4,000 Black voters, or approximately 3,000 Black voters, are being provided a remedy by this Republican map that does not address the voter dilution identified by Judge Jones in his 516-page court order. And the judge, again, was very specific. If you read the entire order, as opposed to nitpicking parts of it for purposes of your argument, that it is those voters who deserve an opportunity to elect their candidate of choice. And let's take a step back. Over the past 10 years, where have we seen population growth in the state of Georgia? Primarily came from the Black community. If we've seen growth in Black voters here in the state of Georgia, their political representation should also increase, which this Republican map does not do. That is where the voter dilution comes into play, because you are not allowing these new Black voters to elect their candidate of choice. The Democratic map was mentioned not because this is a matter of partisanship, but to demonstrate the contrast of what it actually looks like to remedy and comply with Judge Jones' order. Under the Senate Democratic proposal, 150,000 Black voters would be moved into majority Black districts that would allow them to elect their candidate of choice. The purpose of this court order is not simply to draw 2 majority Black districts and you're done. It is to give the Black voters, it is to respect Black voters' constitutional rights, to ensure that they have the ability to elect their candidate of choice. That's what this is about. This is not about incumbent pairings, as it was previously mentioned earlier this morning, but complying with the Voting Rights Act, especially given the importance of what the Voting Rights Act means to this country. These are not politicians' districts. These are not Democratic districts or Republican districts. These are the people's districts. I'm here to be of service, and I hope each and every member, Democrat or Republican, understands that all of us are here to serve the people, not a political party. Unfortunately, this Republican majority seems intent on illegally diluting the voting power of Black voters in Congress, which we will address in the next few days, the Georgia State Senate, along with Black voters for legislative maps in the Georgia House of Representatives. It was my hope that Republicans would comply with Judge Jones' order. Instead, they are ignoring his very explicit, specific instructions, ignoring the court's order to draw 2 additional majority Black districts in the vote dilution area specifically identified by a federal court. It was my hope that my Republican colleagues would respect and comply with the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965. Instead, Republicans are acting not only with blatant disregard of the law, but they are taking action to once again challenge and weaken the Voting Rights Act to the detriment of Black voters and voters of color. As with the Republican map for the Georgia House, the Republican map for the state Senate is unlawful. Judge Jones can and should reject this map. I appreciate the respect of the chairman presenting the Republican map, and I understand that there is a strong difference of opinion in which ultimately the court will make his decision over the next few weeks. With that, again, I urge all members of this body to vote no to SB 1EX. Now I yield the will. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Whip Park. The gentleman has yielded the well. Representative Holly is recognized to speak to the bill.